Hello and welcome back, and I'd like to start a new feature that I will try to do regularly on most Mondays, and I'm already a day behind, so I need to get going. I have two parts that I want to deal with. One, I want to do a book review each week or talk about what I've been reading and maybe talk about some things related to books more in general. And I can think of no better book to begin this kind of series with than Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. The only problem is that I can think of better books to begin with than Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Let me say this has been out for a couple weeks now. I'm still going to try to avoid any big spoilers, but I got this book completely filled with excitement and happy to be back in the world, the wizarding world of Harry Potter, not the amusement park, but the world that lives within the pages. And I read it as quickly as I could, and I was excited to read it, but unfortunately, in the aftermath, it doesn't hold up quite as well as it did in the initial reading. A lot of people have slammed it and said it reads like fan fiction. I think it's better than that. The story is pure J.K. Rowling and works wonderfully. But I don't know if John Tiffany and Jack Thorne, the co-authors on this book, are quite up to that task or the level we expect from J.K. The story is wonderful. The plot is great. It certainly does grab you if you're a fan of the original books for sure. And it was so nice to be back in that world, but at the same time, the dialogue at times is really clunky. And this is just a script of a play, so dialogue is pretty important. I will say this, you cannot read this book and not desperately want to see a production of the play, just to see how, hopefully not if, but how they pull off some of the magic and amazing things that the story takes. So the story worked well for me. I was happy to be back in the world, but there were some things that made me feel somewhat disappointed. One, the adults in the book, I don't know, maybe J.K. Rowling, no, you can't say J.K. Rowling doesn't write adults well, because in the initial series, all 7 books, the adults are wonderful. But Ron, Hermione, and Harry, as they have grown up, don't seem like the same people. Ron seems almost more like what you would have expected from Neville as a grown-up. He's kind of bumbling, kind of awkward, much more than you expected from Ron, and not nearly as brave and ready for action when that was called for. Hermione, as Minister of Magic, is not Hermione as you would expect the Ministry of Magic. She seems like she has become not an awful bureaucrat, but not what you would expect of Hermione. And Harry had problems raising a kid that someone with his own childhood doesn't seem like they should have had. The basic issues between Harry and his son Albus were good, but Harry just didn't seem like he had learned anything from his own youth, and that seems unlikely. Albus and Scorpius are wonderful. The chemistry there is good. Some of the minor characters, yeah, the Trolley Witch, if you haven't heard, the Trolley Witch is fantastic, but overall the characterization wasn't as rich and wonderful as I expect from J.K. Rowling. Maybe that's partially because I expect a lot from J.K. Rowling, but that was a problem. The other thing, on the plot worked well, but try not to give too many spoilers here, but the plot relies heavily on time turners and complications with going back in the past and changing details and how those impacts are felt down the line. And that's really a kind of a trope that's been worked extensively in many other stories. It reminds me very much, watch the season close from season 5 of My Little Pony.
I'll just use Starlight's version of the spell and go back a little earlier and stop her before she even knows we're there.
Very much a similar story to Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. All those negatives aside, still well worth reading because it's so good to be back in the world of Harry Potter. So I'm not sorry I bought it. Probably nobody would be foolish enough to expect you're going to be back into the same as the 7 novels, the 7 original novels. So as long as you don't expect too much that way, I think it's well worth reading, and I enjoyed it a lot. So that's Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. What I want to talk about more generally at the start of my school year especially is, why is a 58-year-old man reading Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and why do I spend so much of my time in the YA world, the young adult literature? I am not a young adult. I'm an old adult. The truth is, only partially, only this much because I teach high school students and I need to relate to them on that level. If I did not teach high school students, I would still gravitate towards YA. And that needs to be said. Again, it's not a genre. There are all kinds of genres within the YA world, but YA is not a genre. Fantasy, science fiction, romance, all kinds of things. Those are genres, but YA is not a genre. Why do I like YA? And what makes a book YA if it's not a genre? It's a book written for that audience, and so why do I like it? It's because one of the principal distinctions of most YA lit is that the protagonists tend to be younger people. And when I read the stories of younger people, first of all, it helps me relive those moments, and I carry those around with me inside, because when you are 58 or 57 or 55, you are not just 55 or 56 or 57 or 58. You carry all those younger versions of yourself with you. And those help me keep connected with those. But more importantly, when I see a YA novel, the protagonist is dealing with life and challenges and gets a buy from me and is excused for making some mistakes that I just don't think older people should make, because you have to learn as you age. There should be some wisdom that accompanies it. And so much of adult literature features old people who are just stupid or selfish or myopic or short-sighted, all kinds of negative things that I can't forgive them for. And I think that's one reason why I really enjoy YA lit better than I do a lot of adult lit. And then too much adult lit stinks of being too clever and too intellectual. And let me show you how smart I am and how many big words I can do and how ornately I can decorate this novel. So there's 2 quick takes for a Monday that's late, but I will try to make a regular feature through this school year anyway. A book review and some talk about lit. Why I like YA and Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Hope you liked it. Let me know, especially I need to know any recommendations of good, especially recent YA that I could check out this year. I'm looking for things like that. And how do you feel about YA as opposed to adult lit? Let me know down in the comments. Till next time, don't forget to be awesome, and I will talk to you again soon, hopefully.